All right, so we're going to create a new project today for this class. So you're going to open your Engineering 102 folder like you've been doing. And any idea what we're going to name today's new project? Any guesses? 8-1? 7-2, it's Thursday. All right, so we make our new folder. Assignment 7-2. You can do this in the browser or whatever, it doesn't matter. So assignment 7-2, although this will probably continue into next week. I don't think we're going to finish Minesweeper today. It's a very challenging one. It might take up the entirety of next week as well. We'll see how much progress we make. So then after you make the folder, you're going to open the folder. You guys got the routine down now, probably. Select folder. And we are going to just double check that we're in the right space. So the very last thing should be assignment 7-2. And then we're going to make our MakeCode project. This is pretty cool, Alex, how you can make it in VS Code here. Create a new project, blank project, and then we name it the same thing. Doesn't matter if you name it the same thing or not. But all right. What did I say we're making today? I feel like I said Minecraft. Did I say Minesweeper or Minecraft? Minecraft would be pretty tough to make, I think. Minesweeper is what we're making. Actually, that'll probably be good. Get some familiarity with what the game looks like. Because if you're not, ancient like me, maybe you've never seen it before. But this was I don't even think it comes on Windows anymore. No, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't come on Windows anymore. It used to just be one of the games that came on Windows. Actually, there's like speed solvers. It's very impressive to watch. So they have a community of people who can click through super fast. But it looks something like this. This one's massive, but yeah. So basically you click these nodes and then there are these spots that have bombs, and you can kind of tell where the bombs are because you have a number, and then the number basically tells you how many adjacent squares have bombs. So we know that this has a mine here because of that. We can mark that with a flag just so we don't accidentally click it. The flags are just for us as indicators. But if we do click it, it won't even let us click it. Hey, that's a good thing to know. This one won't let us click it if it, look, won't let us click it. See it, the smiley face says, no, you can't click that. But now if we click it, of course, it's a bomb. And then it shows where all the bombs are. And your goal is to reveal all of the squares and leave only bombs behind. So before we get started, I want to have you do the same thing we've done before. Group up and have one person write down a list of assets that we're going to need for this. Choose who's going to type for you and type them out. It's in the UI, they have an asset creator as well. You could have one that's like here and then boom, boom, every single square has it. That'd be terrible, but it could happen.
Would that make it?
No, because you could have everything else revealed except for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You'd have to figure out that that's the case. But yeah, when you click it, it's 8. Highest in here, I see it's like 5. 5 is usually about the highest you see. I want to see the speed record here. Okay, this is a speed solve of Minesweeper. I'm just curious about it. This is a world record here. Expert world record. This is not sped up, this is real time.
36 and then.
It looks like a computer doing, but that's a human. The stupid recommended video. Yeah, you got it. Yay! So you don't have to flag them, but you can. But if you're just trying to do a world record, you just have to remember because you don't have time to flag everything. Pretty impressive. Okay, do we get some assets listed out? Okay. Did you guys get some assets over there? All right. Let's see. I'll go with you guys today. What do you got? Mine? 1 through 8. Okay.
Tile map. Yeah, because if we're, and that seems like the easiest way to do it.
Tile map.
The whole, that doesn't feel like an asset.
Well, it is an asset. It's listed in the assets, but I'm trying to think of why a tile map would be beneficial over having just individual sprites for
I
everything.
guess
Yeah.
because you can't resize the tile.
Yeah.
Show a map.
Any other asset? Oh, flag. Okay. All right. Anything else? Did you guys get anything to? The blank tiles. We got kind of 2 different blank tiles. What are the 2 different blank tiles we have? Yeah, we've got like revealed and unrevealed, right? So we got the revealed ones, which are these ones right here. These are the revealed ones. And then we've got the unrevealed ones, which are these right here. Those are 2 different assets. We need to see a visual difference between these 2 so we know it's been revealed and what hasn't, okay? Revealed, unrevealed. What else?
That's fine.
Huh? A timer? Yeah, if we want to have a timer. I probably won't get to a timer because I think just getting the functionality will be challenging enough. Smiley face. There's a few different things with the smiley face. I don't know the behavior of the smiley face other than showing. I don't know. I don't pay attention to them. Yeah. We could use the built-in timer. We want it to go up instead of down, and then the high score would be based on the lower time, right? So we'd have to do some tweaking with the settings. Anything else? Yeah, we've got a slightly different one here for this mine than this one, right? That's a different resource. Unless you're just trying to overlay what I think I'm just gonna make different assets instead of trying to overlay assets on top of each other. I think that's gonna cause too much confusion. So yeah, a mine and then I don't know, what would we call this? Exploded mine? Yeah, sure, why not? Exploded mine. Yeah. Detonated mine, yeah. Is that less letters? It's about the same, I think. I'm trying to cut down our letter. I'm trying to think. X mine. Anything else that we need? I'm trying to think if we missed anything. It's pretty good. There's one more thing that's not in here, but we're gonna need a specific asset. How do you actually interact with this game normally with a mouse? Do we have a mouse on our Pi badge? So that's a good question, and actually I want to have you guys discuss this a little bit. How can we work around this? What can we do with the Pi badge instead of having a mouse? So I'll let you guys talk for a little minute about that. What can we do in lieu of having a mouse? Yeah. How would you move it around? What would you do? How would you actually choose a square? How would you flag a square? We should have enough buttons to do everything, but you have to figure out what makes the most sense. What do you think would look good or work well for actually moving around and choosing a square, I guess? A highlighted square? Okay. Does that mean, so how would the highlighted square look? Okay, so we have our square. How would the highlighted square possibly look? We got our square to choose, and then how do we know that that square is the highlighted one?
Different color.
Different color, maybe? Yeah, I was thinking maybe a red, like a red square around the outside. You know, like this, and then your next square will just be here, and then we can move it around with our arrow keys, right? So we can go to a different spot. We'd have to keep track of where it is in the grid so that we can know which one has to be selected. Does this mean we have to make a red version of all of these selected ones so that we can? Do we have to have like red for each asset? That's gonna be a pain to make. So highlighted version of all of them.
You just have the one asset move on top of the other and be like same thing.
Yeah, that's much better actually. We can have transparency in our sprites, and we can just ensure that this sprite is on top of the other sprites. So basically, the order that we draw them in, we just make sure that this sprite is above it. There's ways to force that, but I think if we just do it in the right order, it shouldn't be a problem. So that means we need like a highlight resource as well. Ooh, okay. We got a lot of stuff to draw. For now, I'm just going to do a few, and then we'll start to add to it. I think it's just going to be too much to try to do everything at once. So the bare minimum, I think we need. Well, how about just to get started, we just have revealed and unrevealed. So we're going to draw those. How do those look? Kind of has a white, like a brighter border here, and then darker here, and then like a middle color here. We could overwrite the color palette. That's okay. I don't want to get into that. In the video version, the video guide, I do that. So if you're very interested in making custom colors, you can do that. But we'll just do our best with the colors we have. So we'll go to our assets and image. And then the size. I think if you look at the old school version of Minecraft, let's see if they have Minecraft. Or not Minecraft. Why do I keep saying that? Take a drink every time I say Minecraft. A drink of water. Minecraft assets. Let's see. I think they have pictures of them up close, maybe. This is a good one, kind of. Just trying to look at the pixels that we might have here. That one's not a pixel version. I'm trying to look for an old school pixel version of it. No, these aren't good here. I had one before. But I think it's 9 pixels. Which one? It's gone now. Is it down further? Oh, you mean when I clicked over there? I clicked one of these, right? Well, that's okay. That's a decent indicator. Well, it's fine. We'll just do our best. I think, so I was trying to think, should we try to fill out our entire screen with them? Or should we use whatever size makes the most sense for drawing these? I don't think it matters that much. In the corner, good resources for this. Well, let's just try our best. So if I'm looking for a number that's divisible with our height and our width, our height is 120, our width is 160. We know 8 works. It's kind of small. That's what I used for the other one, but I kind of want to use a bigger one. Any other numbers that would divide well into them? 10, yeah, that's probably the best. Like 20, we wanted really big ones. How big would our game be? How many nodes would we have if we had 20? It's 20. You'd have 8 by 6. You'd have 48 squares. That's not terrible, but that's a little too big. Let's go 10. Let's go 10 by 10 and just do our best to draw it. And we'll call this one unrevealed first. And then we need kind of 3 colors. We need a shaded color, middle color, and a darker color, or a lighter color. The purple, I think the 3 purples are going to be our best bet here. So maybe this one for the highlighted one. color 10 for the top border. I don't know. I think this is going to be our middle here. Or does pink make more sense for the top part? I don't know. I know that this is going to be the bottom. What do we use for the top? I don't know. Let's look at both. Okay, that's option 1. That's not too bad. Or option 2 would be this. What do you guys think? What's better, the pink or the purple there for this? I think the pink looks a little better, yeah. Purple's a little too bright. Okay. That's not bad. All right, so we've got our unrevealed 10 by 10, and then let's make a revealed version of it. Okay. Revealed. I'm going to fill it with the same color as our center one. And then I think around the outside, we just put the dark border around the whole thing. Oh, this is 16. Whoops. 10 by 10. There we go. Yeah, make sure the sizes are the same. All right, so we've got our revealed and our unrevealed. I'm okay with that. Do you guys okay with that? Yeah, doesn't look too terrible. If you want to go a different route, that's fine. If you want to make it look however you want, that's fine. I think that'll create enough difference between the two. I feel like, I don't know, if we just had it totally blank, it might be hard to distinguish between them. It'll just look like this big chunk of empty space. I do think we want a little border there. Trying to think if we could get away with just having a border on one part, but I don't think so. Okay, we'll go with this, and if we can always change, that's a good thing about having these assets. We can go back and tweak them, and it'll just automatically update. We're not stuck with this choice. All right, everyone got their unrevealed and revealed done? Okay. Good, the hard part's out of the way. Now the easy part with the coding, right? Let's put this over on this screen. So if this ever happens where you're in here and then you click main, you can just drag it over to here, or you can close it and then click over here and reopen it. Either way is fine. Okay. So I want to build a class that's going to handle these points on these like things. And sometimes when I can't think of a word to call those things, I just call them a node by default. It kind of makes sense, like little nodes. And then we're clicking those nodes. So we're going to call it a node. So last class we learned about classes, and I actually want to store this in a class. We could use a type, but I want to be able, the biggest difference between types and classes is that, you know, types kind of can handle the properties like we did with the, you know, the sprite and then the direction the sprite was facing. But we also want to have methods involved. So we want to be able to, for example, have something that will toggle the node or flip it from revealed to unrevealed. So I want to have a method to do that in the class because it makes sense to contain it there. So we're going to have a method. And yeah, last year they couldn't use methods because the block code doesn't allow you to use methods. So this will be new for Alex as well. I really wanted to use a class, but we couldn't get it to go. So that's one of the motivators for switching over to just TypeScript. I want to just open this so we can see the, refresh ourselves for how this looks. So we're going to have a class called node. What are the properties of our node going to be? Well, what do we need to know about that particular node? We need to know if it has a bomb. Yeah, if it has a mine. Well, that'll be a method, but we need to know the properties. So we need to know whether it has a bomb or whether it has a mine. What else? We need to know whether it's revealed or not, right? So we need to know if it has a mine. We need to know if it's revealed or not. We need to know if it's flagged or not, right? Because if it's flagged, it'll show something different. Those are the, yes? The location, the XY grid coordinates of it as well.
And the number that it's displaying.
What's that?
And the number that it's displaying.
Well, I'm gonna probably do that in a method because what we're gonna do for that is just count all the adjacent nodes essentially to, yeah. So we'll have a method for counting the adjacent nodes and all this stuff and toggling. But I think for properties, flagged, probably the X, Y, well, yeah, the row column of it. I don't want to say X, Y because that's what we use for the actual pixels, but I want to know the row and the column that it's in. Yeah, row column, the whether it's flagged or not, whether it has a bomb or not, and whether it's revealed or not. So what data type will I use for those three things? Revealed, bomb, flag. What data type would be good for handling? Boolean, because it either is or it isn't, right? I can't think of like three statuses we would have for these, so I think that's fine. So we're gonna create our class with those 5 properties. We'll have a constructor and we'll decide what we want to pass in and then what we want to set by default. Remember that we can have something by default or we can pass something in through the constructor, and then we'll figure out what methods we actually need to have. So it looks like this class, whatever, we use a capital letter and then curly brackets, properties with private, potentially. Yeah, we can do private just to, I think we should use private for those things. And then our constructor just has the word constructor and then opening and closing there. Okay, let's try to go off memory here. Every language does this differently. Class, node, okay, properties, private underscore row. I mean the data type of the row, yeah. Row, what would the data type of the row be? A number, yep. Private call will also be a number. Private is, usually when you have booleans, you'll often type the word is in front, like is revealed with camel case, and that'll be a boolean. Private is flagged, boolean. Private is bomb. How about has bomb? Well, is bomb. Is the node itself a bomb or does it have a bomb? It is a bomb. Okay, well, we'll stick with our consistent naming, or is mine, I guess. That sounds like it belongs to me though. Is mine. But they're mines, not bombs. Okay. Constructor, good. Constructor, and then we have the parameters that are going to be passed in. Among these parameters, which ones do we actually need to get when we create the mine, when we create this node? Which ones are always going to be the same when we're first creating them, and which ones are going to be passed in? Is the row and column going to need to be passed in? Do we know that no matter who's creating the node, do we know the row and the column? We don't know it. So that needs to be passed in, right? That needs to be passed in. So those are going to be passed in. And now to pass those in, we use this dot blah blah equals blah blah, and the parameters are up there. Okay. So we'll have row as a parameter, call as a parameter, and then inside of here for those two, it'll be this dot row, this dot underscore row, because this is the one we're referring to here. And then it equals whatever row is actually being passed in when we create this. Okay, this dot row, this dot call. Good. I'm gonna check my recording, just make sure we're still going. Cool, okay. All right, what about is revealed? Is it always going to be in one of the two states when we first create it? What is it always going to be when we first start? Is it going to be revealed or not? It's going to be not, it's not going to be revealed. So we know that's not going to be revealed, which means I don't need to pass that in to the constructor. I can just set that this dot is revealed equals true or false. False, because it's not revealed to begin with, right? Good. How about flagged? Flagged would also be false. Okay, good. How about the bomb? How about the mine? Is that something that is going to be set when we first initialize it?
So,
I think it will be, which means that we do need to pass in a value for is bomb or is mine. I keep mixing those up. So I think we're going to pass in a value for that. So I'm going to put is mine Boolean, and then I'll put that above here. Usually you like to have your passed in ones and your set ones like separated from each other or like, you know, organized. So I instead of putting it down below, I'm going to put it above, even though it's not the same order, because I prefer to have all my passed in ones above. It's just a convention thing. It's not required. I think it looks a little bit nicer. So that's our constructor. I think this makes sense. Does that all make sense here? Good. All right, we'll come back and do the methods in a bit. But we have our node. We have our node here. Now we're going to need to draw or place our node. Essentially, we're going to need to place all the nodes on our screen. Since we're filling it, it should be pretty easy. We're just going to fill our entire screen. I'm trying to think of. I kind of want it to be custom. Yeah, let's fill it for now, and then later I'm going to make it a custom amount. So, how many rows are we going to have? What's the size of our? It's 10 by 10. How tall is our screen? 120. So 12. But yeah, I want to make this dynamic for now. So how do I make it dynamic even if my images were different or screen was different? Screen.height divided by the image size or whatever, any of our image sizes. So let's go. Huh? Yeah. It is a lot of remembering conventions and syntax and default stuff. So screen.height divided by assets.image, and then we can just use unrevealed or whatever we want. Or you could type revealed because it's less letters. Dot height. There we go. And now we do the same thing, but for width. Dot width. And, or sorry, not width. Calls. Whoops. Dot. Yeah, with the width. Okay. And then I just want to make sure it works. So I'm going to console log the rows and console log the calls. And then we will open up our start the simulator. Okay, I got my simulator over here. It's dark because we don't have a background color. But we should be able to see it if we go to output and then we go to make code. Why are they both, hold on. Why are they both 12? Oh, because I didn't change this. Come on, Dan. See, that's why we check it. It was a test and nobody passed it. Nobody corrected me. You're like, if Dan's doing it, it must be correct, right?
Finally,
He's the teacher.
It's just gonna be an unnatural amount of code, and it's just gonna have every error possible. You have to sit there, you either say yes, this is right, and I agree with it, and now I know why.
That is a good, thank you. That's a good thing.
Final, you have to stand up in front of the class and go, I disagree.
No, it might just be a question where you have some code and then I say, what's wrong with this? And then you have to identify or fix it, yourself by crossing something out and filling in what's, the correct thing on there, something like that. That was in mind anyway. That's always a good practice to try to find issues with code with your eyeballs.
Yeah,
What if they're blind?
Yeah.
I don't know that'd be tough. That'd be really tough to be I don't think it's fair, but I don't know how accessible coding is. That'd be really interesting. I wonder if there are like blind programmers. That'd be really cool. That should be a TV show. Yeah. I think that'd be great. I would love to see how they actually perform their duties. That's awesome. It probably is voice. It probably says stuff to them, like they can text to speech it. Anyway, Thanks. You got me on the tangent. Okay, we got our rows and columns correct here. Awesome. Okay, what do we do now? I don't know. What's our X offset and our Y offset? How over do we have to push this? Because if we just draw it, remember the center is it's gonna be like we're gonna see the bottom right corner. So how far do we have to push it this way and how far do we have to push it this way?
So just go past it. The X off.
Half an inch? Half of the size of these things, right? So we take the same asset. I don't like typing this over and over again. It's too messy. What should I do instead of typing this whole asset name over and over again? It creates too many opportunities for error. I should set it to a variable instead. So I'll say let unrevealed image. Actually, it could be, well, no.
Yeah, it's an image. It's an asset. It stays the same.
Is the asset considered loaded in, right? I'm gonna leave it this. I don't know, for some reason it doesn't stick well in my mind and I can't think of a good justification. It just doesn't feel good. I usually don't set it to something like this. Okay. Now here, you can use a constant if you want. You're fine. You don't have to copy everything I do.
I really feel like setting it to unrevealed image did not inherently make it shorter.
It made it like 3 characters shorter, but it helps you when you're typing it because now it'll tell us. It'll fill in the blanks for us. So we do less typing now. With divided by 2, right? Because if it's halfway off, then by adding that half back on, then it'll be on the screen. Here we go. Even though it'd be very weird to play Minesweeper with like rectangles instead of squares, we have the code in place dynamically so that we could have these cool rectangular ones and look kind of weird. But
Would the offsets also be a constant?
if you want to, rows and columns and everything would be a constant. Yeah, sure. Okay, so we've got our rows, columns, we've got our offsets. Now we need to create a function that's actually going to place all of these or create them, I guess, first. So I need to store these, I believe. Yeah, we probably need to store these in an array. Actually, not just an array, but what kind of array do we need to store these in?
What about an empty nest?
It will start as an empty one, yes, but it has to be a nested or a 2-dimensional
Okay,
array.
I found this on the web for an array, actually not just an array. But what kind of array do I need to store?
I don't know, man. Holy cow. Sounds like nonsense when I hear what I say back to me. It's crazy. I sound like an insane person. All right. So we need a 2D array. Why do we need a 2D array?
There's 2 dimensions.
There's 2 dimensions, yes. We got our rows and our columns, right? So we need to store this in a 2D array. So we're gonna have a 2D array of our nodes. What would the data type of our nodes be? A number, a Boolean. I'm going node because that's the class name. So that's actually a data type that we've created now. Yes, I tricked you. So we can actually use our class as the data type, which is really cool. Just like we use the types. You remember last time we used our we did this, we used our status as a type here. We used our status, which is a type that we created, or enum. We used it as enum, but we can use a type as a type. We can use a enum as a type. We can use a class as a type. So it's going to be a 2-dimensional array of nodes. So we're going to use our node type. Now, how do I indicate that this is a 2D array? What do I have to add to this to make it a 2D array? Yes, 2 sets of silly brackets. Yes, this indicates that it's an array of nodes, and this indicates that it's an array of nodes. Yes. If we had a 3D Minesweeper game, we'd have to add a 3rd one on there. That'd be interesting. I don't know. That's a Unity thing. Okay, you can work on that in Unity. I think that'd be a fun problem to make. Man, what would be the maximum number you could have?
Well, how do you get the ones on the inside?
You'd have to navigate in, right? You'd have
Oh,
to
so
you'd have to scroll in and then have transparency on things.
make sure that you didn't because there could be a situation where you couldn't get.
You could. I'm just wondering what the maximum number would be. It'd be like 9 on top, 9 on bottom, and then 4 in the middle. 22. No, more than that. 8 in the middle, all right? Because you could have 9 lines above it. Because if you're doing diagonal
So does this just
adjacency,
look like a Rubik's Cube then?
it would look like a Rubik's cube. You're in the center of a Rubik's cube. So how many pieces
So
are
it'd be 26.
26?
Or-
Yes. Because if the center part would be the 27th. So yeah. Okay. Anyway, so you got to make 1 to 26. That's your homework. Get it done. 3D Minesweeper. What does this start off as? Well, it'll just start off as an empty array. So we're going to set it as an empty array. We don't have to do this. Fortunately, we don't have to. That's weird if we had to do that. But we don't have to do that because it's an empty array that's waiting for an array of nodes to be put into it. So it's just an empty single array. All right, now we need to make a function that's going to actually generate all of our nodes. So we'll say function. Generate nodes, I guess. Okay, wait. All right. So how do we generate? You did this for your bricks, right? How do we usually generate these things, or how do we create them?
It was a for loop instead of for loop.
Yes, it was a nested for loop. So often with 2D arrays, you're going to be working with nested for loops. They go together really, really well. So we'll have a nested for loop. We're going to start on the outer part, which is going to generate our rows. So it's going to be the rows on the outer one. So we'll say for let I equal 0, I is less than rows, I plus plus. We don't have to do rows minus 1 or anything. Rows are fine. So this is going to do it 12 times, right? For our rows, it's going to place 12 rows. Okay, and then calls will be, can we use I again? What do we use instead of I? J, yes. J is less. If anyone runs into any errors, that's what Alex is here for. So just raise your hand and we'll walk around and check your code for you. J is less than calls. J plus plus. All right, so we've got our 2D array. Okay. So how does this work? Well, we need to generate an entire row of nodes. So what we're going to do at first is we're going to create an empty array of nodes. Here, we can't call it nodes, so we're going to call it nodes row, which the type is going to be an array of nodes. Single 1D array of nodes, because each row is just going to be a 1D array of nodes. Nodes row, and it needs to equal an empty array. And now we're going to add those. We're going to add to this. So how do we add to an array? How do we add a new thing to an array? Do you remember the keyword we use in TypeScript? .push. .push. Nodes row .push. And we're going to create a new node here. I think we have to use the word new. I'm trying to remember. Okay. Every language is different. And we need to pass in a number for the row and a number for the column. What number would represent our row? Or what value would represent our row in this case? I. This is our row, right? Whatever I is at that time is the row. And then what is our call? J. Yeah, they're not all super duper hard. And then we're gonna play around with this, but I'm just gonna set them all to false for now. We don't even have a resource for this, so we're gonna set them all to false. Okay, so we're pushing all of these on here. This is interesting though. Now I'm trying to think. I might need sprites for these instead of nodes.
I thought we were going to put the sprite inside.
We might have to put the sprite inside of the class. I did it differently before. I'm trying to think of how I'll do this. But anyway, we'll draw out our nodes at least first. Yeah, we'll get to that. Okay, so we have our nodes row. So basically we've gone through, we started at 0, and then we created a nodes row, and then this starts at 0, and then it adds a node to that nodes row. What do we need to do after we finish this cycle of these nodes now? We created a row of nodes. What do we need to do with that row of nodes? We need to add it to our original 2D array of nodes. So what we're going to do is push that onto there. So we'll say nodes row dot push. Oh, sorry, nodes dot push nodes row. So we're taking those nodes that we created in that row and we're putting them onto that other array. Does that kind of make sense? We're creating a row and then we're putting that row onto our 2D array of nodes, rows. Yeah, our nodes, yeah. So we got our row. So we're basically placing our 10 rows or 12 rows, which each have 16 nodes inside of them. So we've created a total of 12 times 16 of them. All right, so we've been able to generate the nodes. Now we have to figure out how to actually display them or place them, I guess. Let's see if we can figure this out. Maybe let's try to use a method for this. So when we create our node, we probably also need to create a sprite that is associated with that node. So we're going to add one more property here, private sprite, and the type of that will be a sprite. Okay, so this is our sprite. Okay, and then down here we'll actually create the sprite in the constructor. So this dot or underscore sprite equals sprites.create. And then what image are we going to be using by default for our sprite? Unrevealed, yeah. Although we might change how we do this later, but unrevealed. And then sprite kind, it doesn't really matter that much for this one. Those are the enemy, I guess. We'll call those our enemy. So that's the thing that we're trying to work with. Okay. So it's creating a sprite now. It's going to create a sprite when we do this. And I believe this is going to be enough to at least get started because this sprite will be created as soon as we construct it. But why don't I see any sprites yet on my screen? I didn't call a function. Yes. I always got to get one of those in every class. When are we going to call our function? Do we need to call it on every single frame? Do we want to recreate those nodes?
Start A.
Yes, exactly. We'll do it up here. So we'll say generate nodes now. It's still not showing a node in the center. Why is it not showing a node in the center here?
Did you ask?
This is actually me not knowing why it's not creating a node. It's doing it here. Do you have do you have a node drawn in the middle? Oh, I misspelled it. Thank you. Yes, we are supposed to just see one in the center here. That's correct. This is actually what we're supposed to see. Why are we only seeing one right in the center? They're all stacked on top of each other. We've got this crazy stack of sprites going here. So now I need to actually position the sprite. We need to figure out how to position each sprite. So let's create a method for that. That's going to be set position maybe. Yeah, methods. And then function. It doesn't have to have the word function when it's a method. That's right. Set position. How do we set the position? We have the row and the column for our position, right? How do we set it based on the row and the column? You did this with your bricks before as well. So the first one is going to be 0, 0. So how do we place that first one that's 0, 0? The row is 0, the column is 0. That needs to go just in the upper left corner, but with the X offset and Y offset added to it. So if we just do this, we say this dot sprite, this dot underscore sprite dot set position, and then we say X offset Y offset. This is going to place all of them. Oh, do we not need the word this? Oh, no, we do. Okay. It didn't place them. Why didn't it place them? That's so weird. Slightly. You forgot to call the method. I forgot to call the method this time. So we're going to call the method right here. This dot set position. So I can actually call methods in the constructor as well. Look at that. There we go. Now they're all up here. Okay, cool. So now I know how to place that 0, 0. The next one will be row 0, so it'll still be in the same Y position, but it's going to be X1. So how do I place it based on having the number 1 there? What are we adding to it to get to the next? How do we place one right here? If I want to place them right here, it would be X offset plus the width of the image, right? Or the width, yeah, the width of the image. Hey, I just spent all this time not using this, but I have this unrevealed image. Let's use this instead of typing this out again. This has access to those variables as well. So I'm going to switch this with unrevealed image, and then we're going to say plus unrevealed image dot width, and now it's going to place all of them here perfectly 1 over. So what about the next one? What about 0, 1, 2? How do I place it here instead? It would be this width times 2, and then the next one would be times 3 times 4. So what do I need to multiply this width by to make this dynamic? It's, well, I know my first sprite is at 0, 0. My second one is at 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3. What's that second one represent? It represents the column that we're on, right? So we need to multiply this by the call, underscore call. What isn't it? Oh, this dot call. This underscore call. Look at that. Now they placed all across here. Now we have all of our rows placing in the same place over and over again. Good. So what about this part? Can you try to fix the Y so that it places the Y's dynamically? Then we'll take a break after that. I'll let you try to figure that out. It's very similar to how we did the other one, but we're changing a couple of values there. Did you get it? Okay, cool. You'll know you got it when all the screen is filled up with squares. Who got it figured out? Yeah, cool. Nice, good work. Did you get it? Working on it. You got it in the center. Okay. Nice. Great. Wow. So that satisfying. It just fills the entire screen out.
I really love columns.
That's game development. 2D game development is columns, rows, yeah, everything. 3D, it is at a Z.
Inform us that game development is a bad idea.
No, you still have fun with
Every
it.
time I open the hit app X, it just-
Everyone's getting fired from game
Yeah.
companies. Yeah,
Marvel Rivals. Like,
it's a tough time, but it'll bounce back like everything else.
But I don't understand. People that make Marvel Rivals, another game that's printing money, they just fired the main team.
Probably because they found they could get by without them. They did their work already, so
That's such a crazy concept. Is you make $1 billion game, they just go, yeah.
yeah, fire everyone. Okay, what do I need to add with the Y offset?
Oh wait, how's it off on that? Oh, let's see. Just
Unrevealed image dot, instead of width, what are we using? Height times, instead of columns, we're using row. Yeah. Whoa, that's so satisfying when it just fills the entire screen up. Very cool. All right, let's take like a 5-minute break to let our brains reset. I'm going to reset the recording as well so it doesn't break.